In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a smooth professional zoom transition using the transform effect, motion blur, and lens distortion in Adobe Premiere Pro. We'll build the transition step by step, and by the end of this video, you'll have a reusable effect that you can use in almost any project. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. As you can see, I have 3 clips on my timeline. First, click the new item icon and create an adjustment layer. Then drag the adjustment layer onto the timeline and position it directly above the cut between the first and second clips. Position the playhead over the cut between the first and second clips, then hold Shift and press the left arrow key 3 times to move back 15 frames. Trim the left edge of the adjustment layer so it snaps to the playhead. Now return the playhead to the cut, hold Shift and press the right arrow key 3 times to move forward 15 frames. Then trim the right edge of the adjustment layer so it also snaps to the playhead. Now move the playhead back to the cut and select the adjustment layer. Press Ctrl K to split it into 2 sections. This allows us to apply different animations to each side of the transition. Next, select the first half of the adjustment layer. In the Effects panel, search for Transform and apply it onto the adjustment layer. We'll use this effect to create the first half of the transition. Now open the Effect Controls panel and locate the Transform effect. Click the toggle animation icon next to Scale to create your first keyframe. Then move the playhead close to the end of the adjustment layer and increase the value to 200. Since keyframing is enabled, Premiere Pro will automatically create a second keyframe. Next, expand the Scale property to reveal the keyframe handles. Select all of the keyframes, right-click and apply Ease In and Ease Out. By default, keyframes create a constant speed which can make the animation look rigid. Easing gradually changes the speed at the beginning and end of the animation, resulting in much smoother motion. Now it's time to shape the animation. Drag the keyframe handles all the way to the right, keeping them perfectly horizontal. The handles control the velocity of the animation. By stretching them, you're changing how the speed builds over time. Rather than a flat, linear animation, the movement gradually gains speed, making the transition feel more smoother and more natural. Now move the second keyframe to the end of the adjustment layer. To add motion blur, simply uncheck the Use Composition Shutter Angle and set the shutter angle value to 360. Now the first part is over and let's do the second part. Now select the second half of the adjustment layer, go to the Effects panel, search for Replicate and drag it onto the adjustment layer. Then change the count value to 3. Next, go back to the Effects panel, search for Mirror and apply it 4 times by double-clicking it 4 times. You might be wondering why we're adding these effects. As the clip zooms out, the edges of the frame would normally become visible, leaving empty black areas around the image. By combining replicate and mirror effects, we create the illusion that the frame extends beyond its original boundaries. Start with the first mirror effect and set the reflection angle to 90 degrees. Then adjust the reflection center Y value until the edges of the image meet perfectly. If it's difficult to see the seam, simply zoom in on the program monitor. A closer view makes it much easier to line everything up precisely and achieve a cleaner result. The goal is to hide the seam and create a smooth, continuous image. For the second mirror effect, set the angle to -90 degrees and adjust the Y value until the edges align seamlessly, just like before. For the third mirror effect, change the reflection angle to 180 degrees. If your footage disappears, don't panic, that's exactly what should happen. Simply adjust the reflection center X value until the image comes back and the left and right edges line up perfectly. Just like before, we are extending the frame so the transition stays seamless without revealing any empty areas. Finally, move on to the fourth mirror effect. This time leave the angle at its default value. Then adjust the X value until the left and right edges line up seamlessly. Once all four mirror effects are aligned correctly, you'll have a continuous image with no visible seams, giving you a much cleaner foundation for the transition. Now we're going to add the transform effect to this half of the adjustment layer to create our transition. Just like we did it with the first half, but this time we'll animate it a little differently. Go to the effects panel, search for transform and apply it to the adjustment layer. You can either drag it onto the layer or simply double click it while the adjustment layer is selected. Now go to the Effect Controls panel and find the Transform effect. Create your first keyframe by clicking the toggle animation icon next to Scale and set the value to 150. Then move the playhead near the end of the adjustment layer and change the scale value to 300. Now expand the Scale property to reveal the keyframe handles. Select both keyframes, right-click and choose Ease In, then right-click again and choose Ease Out. Next, drag the handles all the way to the left, just like I'm doing on the screen. Remember to keep the handles perfectly horizontal. Finally, to add motion blur, uncheck Use Composition's Shutter Angle and set the shutter angle to 360. And move the second keyframe all the way to the right. So far, we've created a clean and professional zoom transition. Now it's time to add the final touch, an elastic effect that makes the animation feel much more fluid and polished. Now go to the project panel and create another adjustment layer. Drag it onto the track directly above the existing adjustment layer. Then trim it so it's exactly the same length as the adjustment layer underneath. Now select the adjustment layer and go to the Effects panel. Search for Lens Distortion and apply it to the adjustment layer. In the next step, we'll animate it to create that smooth elastic effect. Now open the Effects Control panel and locate the Lens Distortion effect. Click the toggle animation icon next to Curvature to create your first keyframe. Next, move the playhead to the middle of the adjustment layer and create a second keyframe. Then move the playhead close to the end of the adjustment layer and create a third keyframe. Now move back to the middle keyframe. You can hold Shift while dragging the playhead to snap directly to it. Once you're there, set the curvature value to -30. This is what creates the elastic effect by briefly bending the image before it returns to its normal shape. Now expand the curvature property to reveal the keyframe handles. Select all three keyframes, right-click and choose Ease In, then right-click again and choose Ease Out. Next, drag the handle toward the center until the graph forms a V shape, just like I'm doing on the screen. This creates a quick stretch followed by a smooth recovery, giving the transition a more natural elastic or rubber band effect. To use this transition through your project, simply select all of the adjustment layers, hold Alt and drag to create a copy. Then place the copy directly above any cut where you want the transition to appear. And that's it. We've created a smooth, seamless, and professional looking zoom transition with a beautiful elastic effect. Personally, this is my favorite zoom transition and it's the one I use in many of my own videos. If you have watched some of my previous tutorials, you may have already noticed this effect. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and learned something new. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to see more Premiere Pro tutorials, tips, and editing tricks, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.